Well, now we've been speaking all morning, haven't we, about Oleksandr Usyk and that fantastic win over Tyson Fury to become undisputed world heavyweight champion. Let's get some reaction now, live from Saudi Arabia. Our reporter Ben Ransom is out there. Ben, we watched the fight, and oh my goodness me, it's taken him just 6 contests as a heavyweight, Usyk, to become the undisputed king of the division. How do you put this into words? How big is this achievement?
It is so difficult to put it into context. Boxing, like most sport, in the mists of time, when you reflect on what fighters or other sports people have achieved and you see other people fall short of that, that's when you start to realise the bar that's been set. With Oleksandr Usyk's achievement, it is remarkable. It's those 6 fights at heavyweight to unify, then become undisputed in the division. Before that, it's the lifetime's body of work in the cruiserweight division, undisputed champion in that particular weight class as well. He's only had 22 professional fights at either cruiserweight or heavyweight, and that was because he had this long, glittering amateur career. He won Olympic gold, 350 amateur fights. I think we knew we were witnessing something special. I'll take you back to when we saw him fight and beat Tony Bellew. I was around that fight all week, and Usyk, yes, he's hard to pin down. He's hard to understand what sort of character he is. But when he got into the ring and devastating performance to beat Tony Bellew, we thought, hang on, this guy, he really is the real deal. He is something special. And then fast forward to when he took on Anthony Joshua at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He was back in London, scene of that 2012 Olympic gold medal, and he was the underdog, I think, in that fight. Excuse me. You remember Anthony Joshua at the time was the unified heavyweight king. He was on his own path towards undisputed glory. Oleksandr Usyk, a much smaller man, came in to Anthony Joshua's backyard, beat him, took his belts, and then defended them here in Saudi Arabia. It's quite a romantic thing, the heavyweight division. I was watching across the arena yesterday, and they are like 2 gladiators. It could have been in the 1930s, it could have been the 1950s, it could have been in that great period in the 60s and 70s with Ali Fraser Foreman. It's an amazing boxing division. To become king of that, to become undisputed, is so rare. It's so special. You have to say that possibly, does Oleksandr Usyk now, does he sit, and this has been discussed this morning, as the greatest fighter of all time? Undisputed cruiserweight, undisputed heavyweight, and taking Tyson Fury down as he did. There's certainly an argument to suggest that he may well be that person.
I miss my father. I say my father, hey, listen, you live that, I live here. Please, no coming for me. I love you. For me, hard when my father coming for me, because I remember all my life. He's here. Maybe like after.
Oh, Ben, I tell you what, watching all that stuff, all those emotional scenes, it really just warms your heart, and it makes you kind of want him to do well even more. And personally, I thought he won the fight quite convincingly, but Fury thought he should have won the fight, and the scorecards, it was close.
Yeah, I mean, scoring boxing is always very difficult. And again, once the dust settles and the kind of adrenaline comes down after a fight, you speak to all of the various former fighters, commentators, obviously just boxing fans around the event, and we all see boxing slightly differently. There's no VAR, perhaps that's a blessing. There's no goal line technology. It's all about what people see and interpretation of how a round goes. And I thought Oleksandr Usyk at the start was definitely pushing forward. We always thought he would do that, trying to get on the inside, trying to close that gap to Fury. And then I think Fury definitely hurt him in those kind of early to mid rounds. Those body shots just pushed Oleksandr Usyk back. And I think it was either the end of the fourth or the fifth. I forget. I've had about 4 hours sleep. But he crossed himself. And at that point, he had a really tough round. And you could just, I think you got a sense that he knew it was sink or swim from that moment. So Fury, I think, was ahead by halfway. That's when we saw the best of the show, basically. He seemed in control. But Usyk just started to get his confidence back. And obviously that 9th round will go down in history. That'll be the one that's replayed for the next 5, 10, 25 years. Fury bouncing off. I mean, he bounced off all 4 sides of the ring. I think he might have hit the ropes on 6 occasions as he staggered around before that standing count. So it was a quite remarkable feat. It was a quite remarkable battle between the two. I can see why Fury's team thought he was ahead, but I think it's difficult to argue and suggest that he won the fight. I suppose without the knockdown, maybe we might have had one of those contentious draws that have had us all salivating over a rematch. But it was an amazing performance from Usyk, and I think in the cold light of day, when Tyson Fury looks back at that fight, yes, he'll see good work, he'll see opportunities where perhaps he'll feel he could have put a bit more pressure and hurt Oleksandr Usyk a little bit more, but Usyk is a class, slick operator, and I think he proved that in spades last night.
Yeah, Ben, so it was such an enthralling, exciting, entertaining encounter. Really lived up to its billing, didn't it? Now, Fury spoke of a rematch. Are we likely to see that? Will it be in October?
Yeah, look, I think right now, again, it's difficult to say. What always happens after a fight is the losing fighter in the ring, while the adrenaline's high, the emotion's high, you're in that occasion, you've got all your fans there. Immediately, they turn to the crowd with the microphone and say, I've got a rematch clause, I want to fight him again. It doesn't always happen, but quite often it does too, and there are hundreds of millions of reasons why it will happen in October. But Tyson Fury, as we know, is also his own man, so he will go away and do some reflecting. Very much a family man, of course, with Paris, his wife, and his children, very close-knit family. He will take some time to reflect on whether he wants to do all of this again, because we saw Anthony Joshua go through this same journey, didn't we, against Oleksandr Usyk. He did it once. It was a shock for him. He tried to go down that path again against Usyk in Jeddah, and it was a really tough, humbling experience, and it's taken him a long time now to rebuild. So Tyson may, you know, he's getting on himself, isn't he, mid-30s now. Does he want to do all this again? Well, certainly he suggested he does. So let's just take him at his word from last night and say, yes, there's a rematch clause. Tyson Fury will come up with a game plan where he thinks he can get the better of Oleksandr Usyk. Now, that would obviously happen back here in Saudi Arabia in October. But the real issue on this front is we may not, and this would be heartbreaking, but also this is the reason why this is such a special moment, we may not see all 4 of the heavyweight world titles on the line. So that fight in October, the rematch, may not be for undisputed. Now, the IBF in particular, that's the weight body, the governing body, who have the most militant of their rules around enforcing mandatory challenges. Now, Hrgovic has been that mandatory challenger for the IBF for a long time. He fights Dubois here in Riyadh in a couple of weeks. He's got to obviously get through that fight, but the IBF will be very, very keen to see their belts defended by Usyk against Hrgovic. So I suppose there is a scenario whereby Fury decides he doesn't want the rematch and they're able to do that for undisputed, but I get the sense that probably Usyk will have to wait for Fury to see whether he can do this rematch, and the IBF may be the ones, they may be the governing body that take that opportunity for a second undisputed fight away. And again, I'll just reiterate, that's what makes this moment, this crowning glory for Oleksandr Usyk so special, and it's why we've waited 25 years for it.
Oh, yeah, and it was well worth the wait as well. I really hope boxing politics doesn't ruin the rematch, because we all want to see it. Thanks very much, Ben.